a conversation that kind of low key started last week, which Bang kind of brought this up, and I think Bang is the reason for this. I don't know. I don't even think it's a lawsuit. I don't know what it is yet.
It's
But
my
we
fault.
talk up. Yeah, it's your fault. And Caleb, it's his fault. It's not mine. Both of us are right here though. So Caleb Williams got the nickname the Iceman last season by his teammates because he's ice cold in the clutch, which we saw all last season. He is okay. So on this program last week, Bang was like, "Man, I wonder what George Gervin feels about this." The first time that anybody he's brought up George Gervin post pandemic. So what happened is he's put in an application to get a trademark. Now, people who don't know, I have been a part of a trademark process before. When we got Pavy's name trademarked, it took about 9 to 10 months for it to get official. We own the trademark, so if anybody uses that name, my lawyers will be hollering at you. But anyway, um, it goes through a full process, and there were other people with that name, but they weren't used in the market as frequently as we were. So we got granted the trademark. Now, for anybody who's in the know, George Gervin was the original Iceman. Now, there's been 100 people named the Iceman in sports since. Okay, Drake's next album is called Iceman. Okay, and George Gervin in that time, like I said on this program last week, he never got a trademark.
Scott was
And
right.
now, because he sees this young man trying to capitalize, he's like, "Oh no, young brother," and he put a lot of respect in that press release. Whatever
Very
he did,
much
I'm
did.
a big
Very much so.
fan. He's gonna be good, but I'm the original Iceman. I hate to say this because I love George Gervin. I'm a George Gervin fan. I remember I had the old Slam poster when the Spurs won a title in '03, and they did the Iceman cover with Tim Duncan and George Gervin. Oh, it's Tim Duncan, the new Iceman. I had all on my wall. Big respect to George Gervin. Most people don't know you alive, brother. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. But Caleb Williams, I believe, is going to be granted this trademark. And we have people talking, coming out, Skip Bayless coming out, whatever hole he's in, saying stuff about Caleb. And one thing I love about my
You
quarterback,
on a
he
roll
got
today,
time.
Jack. You on the roll.
He had time for him today, man. And I need to bring up the actual tweet that Caleb had about Skip Bayless, where he actually corrected him for what a word actually means. I'm trying to pull this up right here. Um, did I actually like that? Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. My Instagram likes is crazy. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, so Skip said, I'm a Caleb Williams fan, but I was a much bigger Iceman Gervin fan. And I'm offended Caleb and Co. are trying to steal Georgia's all time great nickname. I'll unleash today on Arena Gridiron. So Caleb retweeted him with the definition of the word steal. He said, I don't care about where your fandom stands. I was trying to give you and everyone else the benefit of doubt about knowing business and being smart about it, but I guess not. Foolish of me. Also, words matter, Skip Bayless. Steal. Enjoy that podcast. So, nice clap back from Caleb. Honestly, think there's gonna be a situation, and me and Joe talked about this on 79th and Hallis a day or two ago, which is on the Patreon right now. And Joe was bringing up this thing where if you're in two different markets, you can both have a trademark. But
Right.
since he's not filing a trademark, George Gervin, and hasn't had it filed and has had decades to file it. I don't think this is going to be an issue. I think they're going to grant it to Caleb. I just think, honestly, all respect to George, if he really cared about that name, he'd have took care of that a long time ago. That's what pretty much what I think about it.
So there's a couple of things here. First of all, I think this argument is dumb. And I'm not talking about from George Gervin or George Gervin's people or from Caleb and Caleb's people. I'm talking about these fans. Like, see, this is the part of conversation debates I don't like getting into because then you get Bears fans who show their standum by supporting Caleb Williams on a copyright debate. At the end of the day, you shouldn't even give a shit about this. Like a fan should not care about who gets this trademark. Skip Bayless shouldn't care. We shouldn't care. This at over here with numbers on the back of their name shouldn't care. Nobody should care. This is a legal conversation that has nothing to do with us. Now, that being said, though, I don't know. I don't know. There's been people who have had nicknames that have tried to trademark said nickname and couldn't. I see this going both ways because, to your point, yeah, he has not copyrighted it, but there's enough when it comes to George Gervin and Iceman, where I would not be surprised if they say, "Hey, George, you could get it." What you also mentioned as well is that what I don't think, and I may have missed it, is you could get trademarks for different things. Like, so somebody could have a trademark and this person could use it for this, somebody could use it for that. So I don't know if this fits in this occasion because George Iceman Gervin, anything is going to be around basketball related items and things of that nature, where Caleb is going to be around football. But here's the other thing about this, which is lame to me. Fam, you got Jerry. The first Iceman I know that my parents knew is Jerry Iceman Butler. For anybody that lives in Chicago, you know who that man is because not only was that man an icon, a famous singer, a rock and roll Hall of Famer, but he also was a politician in Chicago. Then there's George Gervin. Then you have somebody like Chuck Liddell. Just go Google athletes with the Iceman nickname. You even got Scott Dixon, who's a NASCAR racer currently. That is nickname. His nickname is the Iceman. You got Chuck Liddell. The one thing that makes me laugh about this is when Chuck Liddell was whooping people asses in the
He used it
UFC,
more than anybody.
right? Nobody was like, "Oh man, he's using this Iceman nickname. He shouldn't because it's George Gervin." The reason why people are having this conversation is because people don't like Caleb Williams. That's it. That is all. That Iceman nickname has been used. And the fact that I was watching my favorite love-hate relationship show, Unsportsmanlike, and they talked about it this
I thought
morning
you were
on the
gonna say the
show.
bear.
And 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 Chris Canty and Evan and old girl, they was like, "Yo, you made up nickname. This is not a made up nickname." Caleb Williams didn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna be called Iceman." No, he did not. It actually correlates to Drake announcing that his name of his album was gonna be Iceman, and then this happening, and then from there
But that was
it was
after his teammates called him that. His teammates were
right, and
calling him
his
that in the locker
teammates
room.
started calling him that
Yeah.
partly because of the Drake Iceman thing. And that's where it came from. And that's where it sticks. I even saw somebody say,
And when
man,
what he had he was at Drake house. He did that Yeet video that was shot
yes,
at Drake crib.
exactly. I saw somebody say, well, I hope he grows out of that nickname. Iceman means you just cold blooded and you don't care what's in front of you. So it could be a comeback thing or it could be, yo, I'm gonna beat you by 55 points. That
Right.
name don't stick. But it just shows me how much people hate this kid.
Yeah.
And we could have debates about talent and stuff all day long, but that's why I say I don't care about who gets this trademark. I ain't getting paid for it. I'm not gonna buy no Iceman jersey or anything like that. But to have this conversation and you're against him using a nickname that you have nothing to do with, it just shows me how much you hate this kid and how this is lame as hell. Now, on the business aspect of it, it is crazy here. It is crazy here that nobody on George Gervin's team thought to trademark the name. But it is also crazy that Chuck Liddell didn't copyright it. You mean to tell me that none of those two copyrighted the name? I honestly would have thought that the UFC and Chuck Liddell
But
would have
also
did
what's
that.
funny too, I wonder what these people think. Cause on a non-sports level, I think Paris Hilton just copyright or trademarked hot like a decade ago. She was
Yeah.
saying that for 25 years.
That's what, if y'all want to have a conversation about something, be shocked and surprised that a man who has used this name since the 70s have not copyrighted that. That
Yeah.
is crazy to me. But what it also shows is the business thought and aspect of Caleb Williams. Like, yo, if you gonna give me this name, I'm gonna copyright it. It was somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they gave that person that nickname, and then all of a sudden they just start trademarking
I know
everything.
who you talking about. I just don't remember who it was, but I know who
Yeah,
you talking about though.
man,
Yeah.
but that's smart. If anything, be look at the George Gervin thing. I'll just end it like this: look at the George Gervin thing as something where you look at and like that was a dumb decision for nobody to trademark that name. Because anybody then uses that, you get paid for it. And that's a common ass nickname. So
Yeah.
imagine all of the money that George Gervin could have probably had by getting permission to use that. Because I look at this like Hulk Hogan. For those who don't know, Hulk Hogan owned Hulk Hogan name. The
WWE didn't own that.
WWE, the WWE normally gives their wrestler the name and they own that trademark. They own that IP. Hulk Hogan was like, well, let me go ahead and trademark this shit and go watch some old WWF shit. At the bottom of the screen, at the small print, it shows you Hulk Hogan, Incredible Hulk Hogan, Immortal Hulk Hogan, Hulk Rules, and anything is owned by Hulk Hogan. So I would have thought that you would learn from Hulk Hogan as soon as your name become popular, trademark that shit because he got paid tremendously off the name alone. Another person that I thought that y'all would think about is Tina Turner. Just go watch Love. What's Love got to do with it? Ike was like, no, the name belonged to me. She said, I earned that name. Tina Turner ain't her real name. That's a stage name. And she owned it to the point that they just sold her name to a company to be able to use for anything. So I'm very shocked that George Gervin
And
did not
another thing too.
trademark that.
Remember when the Jacksons left Motown? Barry Gordy owned the Jackson Five, so they had
Mm-hmm.
to go to the Jacksons when they
Jacksons.
was on a different label.
Yeah. So if anything, you should applaud Caleb Williams for having the business mind state of trademarking this name. And you should look at George Gervin's people and say, why didn't y'all do that? Because when I look at people like Hulk Hogan, when I look at people like Tina Turner, when I look at, I'm sure Dr. J got that trademark. When I look at things like Air Jordan, when I think of names like Shaq, it's trademarked. And that's why, and Bobby's right. That's why when you look at companies like Famous Amos, who did not own that name and therefore did not have the money that they should have had, you look at that as I look at it as a sympathetic situation, but at the same time, you got to have people around you to say, hey, make sure you do that. That should be the conversation, not he shouldn't have this nickname, because if that's the case, then Skip, you shouldn't have Skip Bayless, even if your birth name is Skip, because there's other people that was named Skip that is
Skip
more
to my Lou.
like you have other people that was Skip and all of this stuff, and you have other people have nicknames and all of that stuff. This wasn't even a debate when LaMelo was like, "Yo, I'm Mello," and Carmelo was like, "Oh, I'm the real Mello." This wasn't even that. So it's like, yo, y'all, this is getting lame to me. This should be more of a business conversation
Well,
and really questioning why this wasn't done 44 years ago and not, man, he should have this name because he's the original. No, but he's Iceman now. Like, that's when we get to the lanes where I'm looking at everybody and like, y'all lame as hell.
shout out my boy Braggs in the chat. Shout out to Braggs. He said, "I'm gonna fight every old person about this." I mean, yeah. I mean, you know how it go when people like we have these allegiances and stuff
Yeah,
like
that
that.
is
Like I said,
that's not get like, yo, y'all go get some ass.
at
Like,
the end of the day, man, it don't matter if he get the trademark or not. I'm not gonna stop calling him Iceman.
right, we
So
not gonna stop. You gonna stop calling George Gervin Iceman? Nope.
I mean, I don't ever really think of George Gervin, but no,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
I'm saying it was come up, but hey, watch, but there's a dope ass ABA documentary on Amazon that is extremely dope. It is must watch, and George Garvin has a lot to say about the ABA and how the
And it's no
ABA influenced
disrespect
and
to
all that
George
stuff.
Gervin by that. Shout out
No,
to the
you did
OG.
disrespect George
I
Garvin
did.
though on Summer
I
Sessions a
did.
couple of months ago.
What I say?
It was some stuff that I had compared somebody to George Gervin, and you and Pav basically was like George Gervin was Huff. Y'all did. Y'all
No,
did.
we were probably doing the top 100 list or something. I was like, we got to rechange some people out there, which I agree with.
Y'all, I was
Some
like,
people
how we
got to
just gonna
come out.
disrespect George Gervin? But yeah,
Some
other than
people
that,
got to
y'all
come
lame as
out.
hell, man. Talk about the business shit. If y'all on Twitter talking about some my favorite quarterback should be named Iceman, I'ma think you a virgin.
They probably are. I mean, there's people out
Think you a
there
virgin. Like you don't get
with
no
with
ass.
Caleb as their advocates. You know what I'm
You
saying?
care
I
so
always
much about
say,
this
if
Iceman nickname, you
somebody
don't get
has
no ass.
a picture on Twitter, it's not them. Not all the time, but
Yeah,
most of the time, they're a teenager or a bot.
yeah, yeah.
No ifs and buts.
Or
That's
virgin.
what it
Add the
is.
virgin in there. Because
Which is
there's a lot
probably
of
the
40
same
year old
thing.
dudes that be in their mama basements. It's like, can't play.
You've never had the tender
They
touch of
had
a
a
woman.
rag on
That
the side of him every time he scored a touchdown. That's
all right, man. Moving on.
Scott, like
they got
oh
dried up
man.
socks by their bed.
They got
Like, what
dried
you
up
doing,
socks.
man?
They get the
Come on,
rag from
man.
the Bears games.
All
They get the rag.
right, man. The playoffs.